What's up guys, today we'll be talking about the ASUS Zenbook 14. This is the UX433FA, it's a mid-range 14-inch Ultrabook that comes in at $800, and one of the things that I really like about it is the fact that it's a 14-inch screen, so it's more comfortable to work with than a 13-inch screen, but since the bezels are so thin, the form factor is still really portable. So with that being said, let's just jump right into the build quality. It's constructed entirely out of aluminum with this dark blue finish and a radial pattern on the top. There's a little bit of flex on the keyboard deck, but the screen is absolutely rock solid. You need to really put some torque on that thing to start twisting it. The palm rest area has a sort of plastic feeling finish, which seems kind of odd to me. It's aluminum and it feels sturdy, but I'm guessing this blue finish they put on top is the culprit. The hinge is excellent, it's got the perfect amount of resistance, and it also props up the laptop when you have the screen open, which helps with airflow and thermals, which I'll talk about later. But overall build quality is really good. It feels like a more expensive device than it actually costs. One of the main selling points of the Zenbook 14 is the screen. It's a 14-inch 1080p screen, gloss coating. It doesn't support touch, but the bezels are super thin, especially the chin. So a lot of other laptops will have super thin side and top bezels with a large chin. This one shrinks it down on all four sides, and it looks really good. The color accuracy, color gamut, and brightness are all good, but not great. It covers 84% of the sRGB color gamut, 285 nits of brightness with a delta E of 3.4. And for reference, you want this delta E value to be under 2.5. After calibrating it though, it looks a lot better with a delta E of 0.4, so if you're doing photo or video work, you can just borrow or rent a colorimeter and calibrate it and you'll be good to go. And the webcam is placed up at the top, so no weird camera angles, which is nice. But unfortunately, it doesn't support Windows Hello facial recognition. The keyboard uses a standard layout, nothing really to mess you up, so the arrow keys are sized properly, your brightness and volume controls are all up in the function row, and I got used to it almost immediately and actually really enjoyed typing the script for this video on this thing. Key travel is good, but not as deep as the 2015 MacBook Pros if you're familiar with them. There's 3-stage white LED backlighting, and you can hit function escape to toggle between the secondary functions like volume, or have them act as F1, F2, F3 for example. Other than that though, there's not much else to say other than it was really easy to get used to, it feels comfortable, and it's got a great layout and key placement. Now, you might think that because they shrunk the bottom bezel and still kept the 16:9 aspect ratio for the display, that would either gimp the keyboard or trackpad because of the reduced vertical space, but both are sized well, and I haven't really found myself reaching the edges of the trackpad. It's your standard glass trackpad with Windows precision drivers, it's smooth, and the tracking is accurate. There's also a feature where if you hold down the little keypad icon on the top right, it gives you a virtual keypad. It still works as a trackpad with this enabled, but obviously clicking it will register as a key press, so you should probably disable it when you're not using it. Personally, I don't really use a keypad, so I can't tell you whether or not it works well, but given that this is a 14-inch laptop, you can't really fit a physical number pad without cramping up the entire keyboard, so it's better than nothing, right? On the bottom of the laptop are the two speaker grills, and I really wish they had placed these beside the keyboard because they sound quite good, right? They get very loud and it's tuned really well. The bass response is a little bit weak, but because you're bouncing the sound off the table, you lose a lot of detail and it's just not an ideal position for the speakers. But overall sound quality is pretty good. I would rate them a 6.5, maybe a 7 at best, but probably a 6.5. To remove the bottom panel, you need to peel off the two rubber feet next to the hinge, so if you're not comfortable with that, then this isn't really upgradable for you. If you do pop it off, you get access to the M.2 slot, and that's it. The RAM is soldered on, so get as much as you need when ordering, and the drive they're using is the Western Digital SN520. The writes in particular are pretty fast compared to other drives. Performance is your standard Ultrabook stuff. It's running quad-core Intel Whiskey Lake CPUs, 16 gigs of RAM, and 512 gigs of storage. The base model comes in at just $800 for an i5-8265U, 8 gigs of RAM, and 256 gigs of storage, which is fine for light use, and that's probably my recommendation unless you know you need the extra RAM or storage. The thermals are actually really good. There's no thermal throttling and it manages to maintain its 2.9 GHz boost clock with temps in the mid to high 80s. This is with both a render and a stress test. Neither of them hit the CPU over 90 degrees. Unfortunately, ASUS doesn't offer any fan control and their fan curve is pretty passive, so despite how good the thermals are, the fans don't really spin up, which I guess is fine since it's able to maintain boost clocks, but manual fan control is always nice to have. On the left is your charging port, HDMI, USB-A, and a USB-C port, no Thunderbolt 3. And on the right is a micro SD slot, a second USB-A, and a headphone jack. You also have a colored LED battery indicator that turns orange when your battery life is low. Inside is the 50 watt-hour battery that lasts me about 7 hours with normal use, screen brightness almost maxed out, and obviously you'll be able to get a full day if you lower the screen brightness a little bit, but I'm personally used to having high brightness. And the charger they include is the same one they always include that ends in a barrel plug. It's compact and it's standard stuff. So conclusion time then. This is an easy recommendation, obviously. For $800 you get a thin and light 14-inch Ultrabook with super thin bezels, and there's nothing to really dislike about it. It's just an overall good laptop and they gave it a very reasonable price for the hardware you're getting. So if you're looking for a mid to high-end Ultrabook at a reasonable price, this is it and they nailed it. So that's the end of this review. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Also consider subscribing for more videos. I'll see you guys next time.